So look closely. There are actually tiny animals hidden inside this flower bouquet. And if you want to color this yourself later, you can download the wallpaper on my coffee. But first, let me show you how this whole thing was built from chaos. So this piece actually starts very differently because there are just way too many elements. Flowers, animals, cars, little decorations everywhere. So line art becomes extremely important. You can already see at this stage there are a lot of lines, a lot of overlapping shapes. This isn't just sketching anymore, it's actually structuring the entire illustration. So I rely on the line art not just for placement, but also to organize complexity. After the line art, I move into base coloring, and this step is more important than it looks. Because if I don't separate colors here, everything will just turn into one big messy block. So I use color blocking to create separation. Pink flowers, green leaves, warm background. I constantly check, do these colors blend together too much or do they still have contrast? Because if everything is too similar, the image becomes very dull. At this point, I also start organizing layers. Each group, flowers, animals, backgrounds, get separated. This is super important. Because otherwise, when you start refining details, everything gets messy really fast. Clean layers mean clean edges, and that makes the final image feel sharper. And before going into details, I actually go back and define shadow areas, especially inside the flowers. These flowers are very dense, so if I don't define depth early, everything will look flat. I use darker tones to sketch the internal structure of each flower. This helps guide where highlights will go later. Then comes one of my favorite parts, the little blue creature in the center. Everything else is warm pink, orange, yellow. So I intentionally made this gecko one blue. It creates contrast immediately. And I added tiny color variations on its body, blue, green, orange, pink. It almost feels like a small gemstone. Like, is it real or decorative? That ambiguity makes it interesting. At one point, I realized something. All the flowers were pink, too similar. So I went back and pushed the flower centers using lighter highlights. This creates depth. Now your eye can move through the image instead of getting stuck in one flat layer. Originally, I was going to draw a sparrow, but then I gave it a little fringe, and it became something softer, cuter. Then there is a rabbit and even a small squirrel hidden inside. Now this is where the image changes It's no longer just the flowers, it becomes a small world. For the leaves, I didn't focus too much on details. Instead, I focused on color balance. Different greens, slightly different tones, so when you zoom out, it feels lush and full, without needing too much line detail. Then I added 2 small cards. One says XOXO, but instead of just writing it normally, I turned the O into flowers. Same with the other card. Have a nice day. I replaced a part of the design with floral elements, so everything still connects back to the theme. Then I added a blue bow in the background. Again, a cool color to contrast all the warm tones. And finally, a small gem detail. It's not very obvious, but it adds just a tiny bit of sparkle, like something quietly hidden. So from a very chaotic line sketch, this turned into a dense, colorful little world full of details. And if you want this artwork, you can download the wallpaper and the line art on my Ko-fi.